hold on to your vaginas, because you're listening to America's most artificially intelligent podcast, The Pod People. I am Matus Van Rossum.
I am Bethreen Sheets.
And thanks for joining us. Cleveland's not here this week, but that's okay. Who needs him? We got the original boys. We're here to talk about M3GAN 2.0. M3GAN. The brand new Blumhouse production, the follow-up to 2023's M3GAN.
I think so.
M3GAN. Is that when that came out?
Sounds right.
Returning director Gerard Johnstone. He's writing this time. Akilah Cooper returns with a story and character credit, but I did notice that she did not write the screenplay of this one. And boy, it shows.
Yeah. Honestly, going into this, the trailers were pretty abrasive, in my opinion. They really scream slay at the audience, right? Like, where M3GAN 1 was kind of a campy horror movie. This was positioning as a campy action sci-fi romp for the gays.
Yeah. Well, let's reflect on M3GAN a little bit, the first one. That ended up being a much bigger sort of breakout hit than I think we anticipated ahead of time.
Yeah.
And we all enjoyed it well enough. But it was a big hit for Blumhouse. Akilah Cooper, who wrote *Malignant*, teamed up with James Wan on the story and screenplay for that one. And, we got kind of a horror comedy slasher movie about an evil AI robot that is like a little girl and goes crazy and kills a bunch of people. Kind of a modern take on a classic genre trope. But it was like a huge, like, mondo fucking hit. I went back and I looked at the numbers before we started recording, and worldwide it grossed almost $200 million on a $12 million budget, which is insane. Just in the US and Canada, almost $100 million, $30 million opening weekend. Like, huge. Breakout hit. Everybody loved it. It became an instant meme. And, as they say, the rest is history. I think the sequel was greenlit within 2 weeks of the release of the first movie, with both Allison Williams and what's-her-face, Violet McGraw, the little girl, signing on board to join. And here we are with M3GAN 2.0, with more than double the budget of the first one, $25 million budget. We don't know, obviously, how it's going to do commercially just yet. But, I think in a lot of ways, this is sort of a classic horror sci-fi sequel. Definitely following in the footsteps of, James Cameron kind of stuff, from Alien to Aliens, Terminator to T2, going from horror to more action, and very similar to T2, features the villain of the original one coming back as a hero in this one to help the protagonist fight against a more evil robot or whatever. Yeah, well, and like you said, I think that I felt the dread from the very first trailer, the teaser for this movie, because like you said, they were positioning it to be something that I'll just say is very much not for me. I am very much not in the demographic that they were targeting the advertising to this movie to. I don't think either of us are, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, and I think the first one is very campy, right? Very campy and fun, but in a way that is kind of tonally different than what the marketing for the second one played itself out to be. Like
Right.
M3GAN had like one-liners in the first movie, but she wasn't just quipping all the time.
Right. Well, and I think, I think it's a pretty direct response to the kind of like, cultural impact that the first M3GAN had. It did sort of like, I don't know, take off as like a meme amongst the girls and the gays, we'll say.
Yeah.
M3GAN is kind of like, a girl boss slay kind of character. And they really, really leaned into that very hard in the marketing for this movie. Like, I think that first teaser trailer was literally just M3GAN dancing in silhouette to like a Chapel Rowan song, and then
Pony
in
Club.
like in the actual trailer, like the first real trailer, they were using Britney Spears very heavily. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but it looked like I was going to be annoyed by this movie. That's the tone that the trailers were giving off. It was not for me. And I will say, I think you put it really well as we were walking out of the theater last night. You said something along the lines of, that wasn't as grating as I was expecting, but it was still pretty mid. And like that really does sum it up. Like I don't think overall the movie quite had the tone that the trailer was leaning into. But yeah, I mean, this was like diminishing returns the movie for me.
Yeah, this feels like one of those sequels that a year or two from now we'll forget even exists. Like
Right.
the Don't Breathe 2 syndrome almost.
I think Don't Breathe 2 is a better movie than this.
Yeah, I don't know,
I
man. They're
do.
both kind of mid. But to me, I think the transition from more straight horror to action sci-fi doesn't work super well. It works okay, but I don't find the action scenes as compelling as some of the horror scenes in the first one.
Sure.
And they don't do a great job building tension or stakes in its place in this new one. Kind of leaves you flat a little bit. There are elements I do like in this movie, though. I do want to emphasize this isn't a complete bust.
So I wouldn't even say that I think this movie is bad. I just thought it was, like you said, it's just kind of mid. Like I don't think I'm going to be really thinking about it even a month, but like I didn't have a bad time in the theater. Um, like it's witty enough, and it got some chuckles out of me. Nothing that I would describe as like a real laugh, but not like some of the audience. Jesus Christ. But no, I mean, I think there are some problems with just this movie at like a structural level. I think the script is not great, and I was not surprised when I like looked on IMDb and saw that Akilah Cooper it only has like a story and character credit, and that Gerard Johnstone, the director, wrote the actual screenplay. Because I think the script for the first M3GAN was much tighter, much cleverer, much more interesting, and built tension better. And obviously, like what put Akilah Cooper on really anybody's radar to begin with was fucking Malignant, which has a great
Yeah.
script.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing too. It's like I don't even think that the action sci-fi angle of this movie is in and of itself the wrong direction. Like the action stuff in Malignant is electrifying. And I mean that comes down to James Wan being like a better director than Gerard Johnstone, to a big degree. But it also shows that Akilah Cooper is capable of like at least scripting action set pieces. you know, that are like interesting, that with a good director and like good stunt coordinators and everything, that you can pull off really well. And yeah, this one it's just flat. That's how you described it a minute ago, and that's how I would describe most of this movie. It's just flat, flat, flat.
Yeah, well, the big thing about the action in *Malignant* is it's a buildup of tension throughout the film until the big release, which is all of that action. With
Right.
this, you do have steady action set pieces throughout, but it never feels like it's quite building to anything, right? It kind of just goes steady as
Well,
they chase down this other Amelia cyborg android.
yeah, I mean, I think a problem with again with the script, and the reason why this movie doesn't build tension well, is because it's constantly like shoehorning in like plot twists and like moving the goalposts, like changing the stakes of the film, to the point where it's like it can't really build up to one singular thing, because it's constantly like changing the nature of the game. So you're like, it's always having to introduce like new rules, because like, yeah, the basic log line is that like Allison Williams has to, against her better judgment, bring M3GAN back to hunt down a more dangerous robot that was developed by like a defense contractor using like stolen tech and code from M3GAN. So it is, your classic Terminator 2 thing, that they bring Arnold back to help, defeat the T-1000. But over the course of the movie, they move those goalposts constantly. It's like, okay, now it's not just Amelia. Now a Xerox company accidentally created Rocco's basilisk, and they have it locked up in a bunker underground. So that's the actual threat. But then, oh no, is M3GAN actually the threat again? Oh no, psych, no, she's not. There's another character who turns out to be the villain, and it's just like it's just like constantly changing.
Yeah.
It's just like constantly pushing this thing. Like they introduce early on Jermaine Clement, who I do think is fun in this. I like
Hmm.
him, but they introduce him as kind of like this other like tech mogul who he reads very much like a cross between like Elon Musk and like Steve Jobs, or maybe like Tim Cook. I think the character's name is like Alton Appleton or something like that. Like it's very much not subtle what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Um, but like, so they kind of position him at the beginning to be like, oh, maybe he's the villain behind this, this new Amelia robot, or
Yeah.
they sort of position him to be the big bad, but then they kill him off in like the first 30 minutes. So yeah, I mean, it's just like it feels like they're trying so hard to keep the viewer on their toes, but all it really does is just muddy the water so that nothing ever really feels like it has meaningful stakes.
Yeah, and it was like a little unnecessarily convoluted because of that, right? Like this movie is 2 hours long. I don't
And
think it has any right to be over 90 minutes. Like,
it feels 2 hours long too.
yeah.
I don't think I was like bored necessarily, but there were a number of times like, man, this is going on, or like really long time.
Yeah, I got a little exhausted by the third act. In fairness, I had been driving for 6 or 7 hours before the
Right.
screening, but like by the time they were doing the montage to get set up for the final battle in the underground bunker, I was pretty close to tapped out, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's just like by that point, I just didn't give a shit at all anymore about like where any of this was going and what the outcome was going to be. Like, I just could not give a shit by that point. So yeah, I mean, I think, and I mean, I feel like I hear people being like, this movie's it's a hot mess. And it's like, it is messy, but I think I would like it more if it really was like a hot mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if this was really like a disaster kind of movie, I think I could find some more entertainment in it. But really it's just kind of like a generic sci-fi action movie with a messy script.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest fault I could throw at it is feels a little uncreative at times, right? Like jumping into the T2 formula and kind of the Amelia bot is a little uninspired. Honestly, one of the biggest surprises I had in this film is in the credits, seeing the credit for whoever played Amelia and the fact that it
Not
wasn't Elizabeth
Elizabeth
Olsen.
Olsen. Yeah, I had the same experience. I realized it within probably like the first 20 minutes of the movie, but based off of all of the trailers, I was just certain that that was Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
And like every time one of those trailers would come on, I'd be like, she seems a little bit too big for this movie. You know, like she's been all in all the Marvel movies. Like she's been getting like Marvel money. Like, what is Elizabeth Olsen doing in M3GAN 2? And then, well, it turns out, well, she's not. They just got a Ukrainian woman who looks exactly like her.
Yeah. Cheaper that way.
Cheaper that way. You know what? I will say though, I thought for the limited amount that she was working with, that actress did a pretty good job, because unlike M3GAN, like she's just like a person. She's not hiding behind like an animatronic like doll face. So to make her seem like robotic, she has to do like way more physical acting, I think. I was particularly impressed in the scene where they're like after she's killed Jermaine Clement, and like M3GAN and like the other dude are hiding in like the server room or whatever. Allison Williams, not M3GAN. And the Amelia's like hunting her, and like I thought it was really cool how like parts of her body would move first and sort of like lead the rest of her body. Like when she would take a corner, like her eyes would turn first and then her head and then her body would follow around. It was all very smooth. Like it was
Yeah.
good. It was good physical acting. The character is a nothing. There's
See,
absolutely nothing to the character
that's the big
whatsoever.
problem to me. Like I agree she was good in terms of physical performance, but I think in the first M3GAN, the M3GAN character hits the perfect balance of robotic and personality. And for this one, I feel like they cranked the M3GAN dial up too much for M3GAN and
Hmm.
didn't crank up the personality dial enough for Amelia.
Yeah. No, I agree. The Amelia like character is, again, there is no character. There's nothing to her. So like it really doesn't come as a surprise when in the third act it's revealed that she's not actually autonomous, that she's being controlled by somebody else. Because like I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean I agree with you. Like there's nothing really compelling or entertaining about the character. I just thought the actress's physical presence was good. So I thought I would give her a little bit of credit, since we spent the previous couple of minutes just saying that she's Ukrainian, Elizabeth Olsen. So
Yeah. That's fair. She does a decent enough job for the task given. I wish she was given more to work with there.
I feel like her haircut inexplicably changes throughout the film, and I could never track when or why that was happening. Um,
Well, at one point it shows her completely without hair. And so I assumed it was just a bunch of
it's just
different
wigs.
wigs that
It's just
yeah,
wigs.
she's putting
Yeah, I
on.
guess so. Well, I mean, I suppose it would be, right. It's not like the robot grows actual hair. Um,
Yeah.
but
Though it is funny when M3GAN is like half built in this movie, like in robotic form. She has a bunch of wires sticking out of the back of her head, like it's hair. And I thought that was really funny. Like circuitry is in the hair itself for some reason.
Yeah. No, and there are some fun little like details in this movie. Like I generally like the sort of like janky bootleg body that M3GAN had like been secretly building for herself in the underground bunker, but because she's just working with like basic robot arms, like she can't make it very good. So it's just like this sort of like weird, shambling like robotic homunculus with like the big baby doll eyes and like human teeth.
And a third hand on her back.
And a third
I thought that was
hand.
funny.
Yeah, that was funny because she's like, I was hoping the body would be done by now, but there's only so much I can do with 3 hands. Like that's a fun little line. It's like there are lots of like clever little lines like that elicit like a kind of soft chuckle out of me, but not a whole lot, past that.
Yeah. In terms of the other characters, like our young girl lead and Allison Williams, I didn't find them particularly all that great in this movie.
No, the little girl, Violet McGraw, I can't remember if like how I found her performance in the first one or how we reviewed it on the podcast, but I thought she was quite bad in this movie.
Yeah.
Not a good actor. Also, extremely strange plot detail that she idolizes Steven Seagal for some reason.
Yeah, her mom took her to Aikido for self-defense. I found that really funny. Like she practices Aikido and breaks people's arms and stuff like Seagal.
Yeah, they do like some fun like rule of threes stuff with that, but it is just like very strange that a 12-year-old girl in 2025 not only would know who Steven Seagal is, but would idolize Steven Seagal. Like that is just like such a strange, that it feels like I don't know, like sort of my example of like old people writing teenagers is in the fucking Slender Man movie when Joey King's character is like obsessed with the Karate Kid, and it's like this felt like one of those things. Like I would challenge you to pull any 12-year-old off the street and say, "Do you know who Steven Seagal is?" And like I bet money, like 90% at least, the answer is who?
Yeah. I don't know. I found that funny enough that I didn't mind it too much. If you're gonna have her idolize a martial artist, maybe it's best to go with the stupidest option.
The one who's been like too fat to get up out of his chair for like
who does chair foo
years. Yeah, who does chair foo. Yeah, I mean, I suppose like if I'm thinking of like other great like cinematic martial artists, that is like a decent decision for a decent like fun weird pick for this, because like it would be more annoying if it was like Chuck Norris, say,
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe she's really into Jackie Chan. Maybe she really likes Police Story. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be much cooler. But I do like how Allison Williams' reasoning is like it's the least effective martial arts or least violent or something.
The least aggressive martial arts or something. It's about it's about like rechanneling like negative maneuvers into something positive or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, it's weird justification, but like I do think it's kind of funny. It's like in the context of like Steven Seagal being a total fraud at Aikido, like those videos of him just like dudes running at him and him just like flicking the wrist and they like go tumbling, whatever.
Very good.
I guess we can get into some of the themes of the movie. Allison Williams in this is like after the events of the first M3GAN, where an AI that she built killed a bunch of people and almost killed her and her niece. She is now like a sort of like anti-AI evangelist. She goes on TV and has written a book and stuff. Has basically just become like a very anti-tech person, especially in the context of like children having tech.
Yeah.
And sort of as a result, her own tech company is suffering because she's taken this sort of like Luddite approach, and to the extent that she won't even let like her GPS reroute her to a faster route because, as she says, like she doesn't want algorithms to like decide her life or whatever.
And the tech she's building is like an exoskeleton that helps workers like pick up heavy stuff and not strain themselves as much. So it's like not necessarily autonomous, but it's kind of enhancing, actual workers.
Yeah, it's still like transhumanist kind of technology. And yeah, she's dating this kind of like dweeby guy who used to be like a cybersecurity guy who is now like the head of a non-profit organization that focuses on like legislative tech regulation. And so they're sort of working together, but he's not really Allison Williams type or whatever. Blah blah blah. They have all of this shit. Jermaine Clement's trying to like steal her exosuit or whatever because he's created like a Neuralink style chip that allows him to like he's like paraplegic, so it allows him to walk, and also it like projects your phone like in front of your face or whatever. Blah blah blah. All of this stuff, but ostensibly like they're sort of setting Allison Williams up to be like anti-tech, which was something that at the beginning I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting, and this is something that I kind of respect and I can get behind. But then it became like readily apparent that her anti-tech fervor is supposed to be portrayed as like kind of hysterical and reactionary. Yeah. That like the film is trying to say that like that's anti-progress or whatever, and especially by the end of the film's ultimate thesis, I think that there's more interesting stuff to discuss there than the actual movie. Like I don't particularly care to get like too deep into any of the like plot points or sequences of this movie or anything, but like
yeah, agreed. I think it's especially interesting considering Blumhouse's history with AI and around AI. Last year we got their movie Afraid. Their
God, dog shit film.
Worst movie of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it did end up last year. Wow, what a fucking terrible film.
Yeah, but also they've been talking about, using generative AI to make shorts and to enhance films, whatever that means.
They've done some of that shit already, right? Like when they did that announcement, they had like they debuted like a short film that they collaborated with a filmmaker to make with AI or something.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it because I have absolutely zero interest in that.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully they haven't pulled any of that shit, as far as I know, in their actual theatrically released movies, unless you count Afraid.
Yeah, I mean that movie kind of uses it thematically, and like even though that movie sucks, like I don't, because it's specifically being like this is AI, like we're using generative AI to reflect itself basically. Like I don't necessarily have a problem with it as much from an ethical standpoint. It's just a bad movie. I do think that a sequence in this movie is made with generative AI.
Oh,
And
you do?
I think they, well, yeah, and I think they call it out too. I think they admit it explicitly in a line of dialogue when when M3GAN is doing the exposition dump about the Xerox company that accidentally created Rocco's Basilisk. Like she has like a little video.
That old robot was AI generated. Yeah, I could see that.
I think it is, and they even Allison Williams even says like after M3GAN's little presentation, she says that like that's just like what you showed me is just like an AI hallucination. Like I think that video that little video sequence they did use some generative AI program to make it because it has all the hallmarks of like the generative AI videos that you see where it's the camera there's not much like real movement happening on screen. If so, it's just like something tracking across the screen, maybe like a slight camera movement. It's not very dynamic at all. It's very static. And it's just got this very sort of like, I don't know, artificially crisp look to it that I associate with AI. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do think I did think that was AI in this. And
Honestly, gross if true.
yeah, no, I mean it is gross. And again, I think that like the biggest sour note that this movie left in my mouth is like it's politics basically.
Yeah.
By the end of the film, because what it essentially says in, pretty explicitly, like at the end, like Allison Williams' character is like testifying before Congress or whatever, and the message of the film is that like artificial intelligence is only as bad as we train it to be, and that it's like raising a child, and that if you treat it like if you raise it with care and consideration, then it can turn out good basically. And man, I don't like that shit is just like such mealy mouthed nonsense to me, because like it would be one thing if we were talking about actual artificial intelligence TM in like the sci-fi like consideration, right?
Yeah. Well, that's how boomers think of AI.
Right. If we're talking about like legitimate sentience and intelligence from a machine, then we can talk about that. But that's not what AI is as we know it now, right? Like it's just an immensely expensive, energy inefficient way to steal other people's work and make us all dumber, and call me a Luddite if you want, but like, so the idea that like, oh, it's reactionary to be against technology, it's anti-progress to be against technology. We just have to shepherd it in the right way. We just have to use it in a responsible way and train it so that it's a good thing. It's like, that's such a utopic idealist kind of way of looking at things. Like, when does that ever happen?
Yeah, well, and it assumes so much agency on the AI, right? Like, it's not that we have to train it well or badly, it's how people use it, right? Like, that's the most important thing, right? Like, I don't think training it on proper sources is going to stop people from using it to plagiarize and be lazy in terms of creativity or doing, useful work.
Right, and make deep fakes of people, and it's just like, it is like AI as it stands right now is like in the real world, not in the context of this movie, is like I do think it is dangerous, and I think we're seeing it a lot now. There's just some big story not long ago about a guy who, and not the only person who this has happened to, but talking enough to chat GBT and thinks that it's actually sentient and that it like gasses him up to think that he's like divine, and ends up getting like shot by the cops from after going on like a rampage. It's like just like everything, like unregulated, like this technology is so dangerous, and talking about it like, oh, it's our responsibility to use it for the betterment of humanity. When has just about any technology that we've invented ever been used that way? Like,
Yeah.
they even like the character who even turns out to be the villain later in the movie is like of talking to Allison Williams about her like nano suit or her exosuit technology. They're like, how do you build something like this and not immediately see it being used by the military to make like super soldiers? But also then it's like that character, it's Allison Williams' boyfriend. He turns out to be the one who's been setting this whole plan in motion, the one who is, purported to be, pro tech regulation and anti AI and all of that, and he reveals that like, well, I'm not against it, but it just has to be used responsibly. Like, as long as it's in the hands of responsible people like me, then it's good. You just can't let it get into the hands of people who would use it irresponsibly. And it's like, when he's talking about it, like, it sounds as absurd as it is, but then at the end of the film, like, that's kind of the film's message as well. Like, not saying that like it should only be in the hands of a few responsible people, but that we as a civilization need to use it responsibly. But at the end of the day, how is that different? Like, how do you ensure that we use it responsibly, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because in the film, like, M3GAN and Amelia, like, they don't serve that much utility to humans, really, right? Like,
No.
M3GAN helps take down Amelia, who's another robot, right? And Amelia is just out to kill people. So,
Right.
like,
Well, Amelia's not even an AI. She's being controlled by Allison Williams' evil boyfriend.
yeah.
So, like, yeah. Well, and I mean, what the film is really trying to do is it's trying to say something about like parenthood as well, because there's this whole tension between like Allison Williams and her niece, her adopted daughter, where it's like, after her parents died, she's supposed to be there for her, but she doesn't know how to relate to her. So, she has these feelings of like being a bad mother. And then that's sort of paralleled by M3GAN, right? Because Allison Williams created her. And this whole movie, she's trying to deny that M3GAN has actual like emotional sentience, that she feels things, that she is that she's anything more than just her programming. And like that's kind of the big thing, like the big character development for her by the end of the film, is that she finally comes to accept M3GAN as like a being, like as a sentient being, and not only that, but sort of like takes responsibility for her at like being her mother, essentially, that she has created her and that it's irresponsible for her to push her away, that she should be, like trying to hone M3GAN's development. And it's like it's all very, it's a pretty picture, like it's nice words, like, but in the context of especially what Blumhouse has been doing with like generative AI tech,
Yeah.
like it just feels really gross, because it's like Jason Blum is obviously pro AI and wants to utilize it to, let's not mince words, to cut corners. He's couching it in the idea of, oh, it allows more creative and do all of these things. But no, it's about cutting corners. And like it really shouldn't, like it's not really a big surprise that this is coming from Blumhouse, right? Because what has Blumhouse made its success doing is making low budget horror movies that consistently make money because they're cheap. The Roger Corman school.
It reminds me a lot of Charles Band of Full Moon, especially, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's probably a better comparison, actually.
Full Moon hit a point in their business where they were cranking out dozens of movies a year for Blockbuster, essentially. And like they were cutting corners to the point where some of the movies were just clip shows of other movies. And like, yeah, Blumhouse has made a name on derivative works, right, of their own work. So it makes sense that they are going to latch on to a technology that pushes being derivative and, you know, deriving work from whatever sources, right? You know, it doesn't take all that much creativity ultimately to make Insidious Part 6 or The Conjuring Part 24 or whatever. They have a formula at this point. So it makes sense in a way that they glom onto it. But yeah, like you said, the messaging around this in this film of co-evolving with it is gross because it's like, yes, to compete with us, you have to stoop down to our level, essentially, is like the argument I felt it was kind of making with that.
Yeah, and on top of that, it feels like this movie is saying to you as the audience that if you have concerns about this kind of thing, you're a reactionary and you should chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
And that I really don't appreciate.
Yeah.
Because like I don't think that like having concerns about the very real cultural and societal impacts of generative AI, like I don't think that's reactionary. Like I think that's wise, you know?
Yeah.
And like at the end of the day, yeah, I guess the movie is trying to be like, yeah, regulations on technology are good, which I certainly agree with. I don't think the tech industry should just have unfettered reign to do whatever they want and harvest all of our data and sell it to whoever. Because like that's what they're doing. Because like in the real world, the tech industry is highly unregulated in this country, at least. And so like yeah, I mean, I think that the movie tries to sort of get around it by being like, well, yeah, of course you should regulate this technology. Like, it shouldn't just be given to whoever. But yeah, we got to co-evolve with it. Like, it's the way of the future, and like it's here to stay. So we might as well raise it right, you know. And I don't know. I see that as like capitulation. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be the way of the future. We don't have to accept that this is the way that things are going to be. But a lot of people are because at the end of the day, they want to be absolved from writing emails. And ChatGPT does that for them.
I just find it all incredibly bleak, man. Like, I saw a presentation from this Chinese company last week, where they were showing off an upcoming movie that they had on their slate. It was a new Better Tomorrow movie. Better Tomorrow, the famous action trilogy by John Woo. They're doing a new one in 3D animation, all generated by AI. And it's so bleak because it's like you're losing the heart of all of that physical action, right? Like the things that make movies so special is the process, right? The sweat that goes into making magic in front of your eyes. And when you're just
Exactly.
generating it, it loses the magic. It's just, you know, what a computer plops out. When anything is possible, nothing is really special.
And at the end of the day, who is asking for this? Like that's a rhetorical question, but like really like who is asking for this? the two types of people who are the executives who are trying to save as much money as possible and wring as much money out of, have the best return on investment as they possibly can. They're one group. And then the other group are a bunch of jealous weirdos who are so uncreative that they'll never be able to make anything meaningful or beautiful themselves. And so through that jealousy, they want the proliferation of this technology. Like, those are the people who are asking for these things. And at the end of the day, those groups combined still comprise an insane minority, right? Like, even the people who I mocked a minute ago who use ChatGPT to write their work emails and shit. And sorry, if you do, it's making you stupider. Like, it just is. I'm sorry.
I mean, I will say at the same time, I don't blame some people for using it because, like, Google and search algorithms have gotten so terrible that it's almost impossible to find information on the internet like it used to be.
Yeah, sure. And like, I also think that, like, people who use it for, like, those types of purposes, like, even they are not asking for fully AI generated John Woo movies, right? Like, they're not asking for this either. And I think, to sort of, like, bring things back full circle, to get back to the movie, what we're supposed to be talking about, I think what also just kind of makes the messaging of this movie so disappointing is, again, how flat and uncreative so much of this movie is. Like, especially cinematically. Like, the difference coming off of 28 Years Later last week is, like, so stark that it almost feels disrespectful to 28 Years Later to mention it in the same breath as this movie. Because it's like, while the movie is not bad looking, again, it's got a $25 million budget, double the original movie's budget. Like, it's still all just, like, in terms of its camera work, in terms of its editing, it's just all very basic. Wide establishing shot, medium close up, two actors talking, a two shot, then a shot and a reverse shot. Like, even in the action sequences, like, this stuff is happening. And it's just like, man, especially compared to what they were doing in 28 Years Later, like, so just uninteresting. And on top of that, when the message of the movie is that, it's we need to co-evolve with AI and it's going to make us all better, if we teach it right. It's like that there's just such a creative void all around here. I don't see the heart in this movie just about anywhere. Everybody's going through the motions.
It feels cynically made, which makes, again, the themes all the more bleak. I will say, again, like, people like Jermaine Clement kind of steal the show when they show up because they feel like they are putting their own stamp on things in a fun way. I think Jermaine Clement especially gets some comedic time to shine in this film in a nice way.
Yeah, he's always very funny. I'm always happy to see him show up, and like, it was kind of disappointing that they killed him off as early as they did, frankly. Like, it definitely felt like they were setting him up to be the big baddie of this movie, and it wasn't. And I think that, and I think the Christian character, Allison Williams' boyfriend, who does turn out to be the villain, like, he's a different sort of, like, creepy tech weirdo. There's so many flavors of them, and, like, I kind of appreciated that, where it's like Jermaine Clement is kind of your tech entrepreneur, your Elon Musk or whatever. The Christian character feels more of like a effective altruist, like Sam Altman, like, kind of figure to me. So like I appreciate that they're showing like the different types of freaks in the tech industry, but yeah, I don't know. It's just not as fun. I don't know, man. I will say, like, if we are talking about like stuff that is fun in this movie, I think a standout sequence to me is the stuff at the AI convention. Like, I thought all of that was pretty fun. It's just a fun setting. Like, it does
Yeah.
sort of it feel like it kind of captures what those sort of deals are like. And like having Amelia and Megan in the just sort of like outlandish outfits like for all of this action stuff I thought was I don't know, it added some fun flavor to the movie. Amelia's basically dressed like a, I don't know, like a Power Ranger meets Daft Punk meets a Cylon from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, I thought that was all fun. I thought her dance sequence was pretty fun, kind of, fitting into the role.
Have to do a dance sequence. I do think that the way that ended is funny, where she gets carried away and gives herself away because she does like her whole body spins and her head stays in place. It's like everybody thought it
Yeah.
was just like a person in like a costume dancing, but then she does that. She gets a little bit too lost in the sauce. Like yeah, that was a fun sequence. On that same note of doing the dance sequence, because of course that was the one of the big memed moments from the first movie, is they also had a callback to M3GAN singing in this one, which our audience popped for like nobody's fucking business. I couldn't
Crazy. I didn't find it funny at all, but I was in the minority because our crowd was losing their fucking shit.
dude, they lost their fucking minds over this. Like, again, like, it made me chuckle a couple of times. The scene is like, Allison Williams is like putting like a fake arm onto M3GAN so she can use like a handprint to get into the bunker or whatever. It's unimportant. But the point is, like, she's sitting there, she's like working on M3GAN, and they sort of have a heart to heart, and she expresses her anxieties about not being like a good mother figure to Katie, and sort of just like out of nowhere, M3GAN starts singing "This Woman's Work" by Kate Bush, and like it goes on for quite a while, and it's just like the kind of suddenness of it like made me laugh a little bit because it kind of took me by surprise. And then when like it just keeps going and Allison Williams is, don't you dare take it to the chorus, and then M3GAN just like starts belting the chorus louder. Like, I thought that was kind of funny. Again, like light chuckles, but holy bejesus, dude, our fucking audience was like howling at this scene, howling. So I don't know, man. I'm glad somebody was enjoying it more than I was. And ultimately, like, I'm going to be curious to see the numbers for this next week, to see how it does commercially and critically, because just in general, I felt like the bulk of the audience was having a better time than we were.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that kind of plays into my question I had for you. Assuming they do a M3GAN 3GAN, where do they go from here, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, that's the tricky thing, right? Like, the leap from 1 to 2 is pretty easy. Like, that it's not difficult to make a sequel out of something like this, especially when you can just follow in the footsteps of Terminator. But yeah, where do they go from here? I don't know. They somehow Roko's basilisk, the evil AI god, has survived, and creates an army of M3GANs. Like, I think that that's the only I think that the only place you can take it from here is like just you just keep adding more to it. Like, what else do you do? Now there was one
Yeah.
more robot, so in the next one there's a whole army of. Maybe they put M3GAN into like a big like mech or something, and it's like a big stompy mech, but it still has like her little like baby doll's head on it.
It'd be pretty good. I would be in for Kaiju M3GAN.
Kaiju M3GAN, like that would be fun. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm really not sure.
I know there's also a spin-off coming early next year called Soulmate.
What?
Yeah. Apparently it's like an adult android, and it's, I guess, supposed to be kind of like a Basic Instinct sort of riff, from what I understand.
It's in the M3GAN universe.
I guess so. That's what I've heard.
We just got Companion. What is this? What?
Yeah.
Who cares about this? What? What?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I don't know either, man.
Doesn't surprise me considering Blumhouse.
No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, I think that Blumhouse has just in general really taken a dip in quality in the last 3 or 4 years. I even think back to like the beginning of the podcast. I go back and I listen to those early episodes sometimes, and it's one of those things that's kind of jarring where we like generally talk about Blumhouse very positively on those early, because I mean in those days what we were getting from Blumhouse was like Get Out, like shit like
there's
that.
A lot of original ideas, right?
Yeah, still
outside
like
of like
stuff,
maybe The Conjuring.
Right, exactly. And it's but now it's just like, yeah, man, now we're just getting 3 or 4 Night Swims. Was that Blumhouse? It feels like a Blumhouse movie.
Oh, almost definitely.
If Night Swim wasn't a Blumhouse movie, spiritually, it's a Blumhouse movie. But yeah, man, I can't say that I am much of a Blumhouse defender anymore. And I don't know, like the last M3GAN was something kind of refreshing, and I think I remember in that episode being like, yeah, I could get down for more of this. Like if they take it in a fun, interesting direction, like I would totally be happy like a M3GAN sequel. Well, now here we are 2 years later. We have our sequel. We saw it, and it was fine, but it's fully worn out its welcome for me. Like I could not give a shit where they take it from here. Honestly, if there's going to be any chance of a third M3GAN being worthwhile, then it needs to be in different creative hands.
Yeah,
I think that Gerard Johnstone has run his course with this. I especially like if he's writing this shit now, I don't trust him to keep this going.
Yeah, give it to a new director. Let him put a big spin on it. Do something very different. But
yeah, I mean, I think like taking it back down smaller scale is where this type of movie shines. The weird like slasher kind of tone of the first one is so much more interesting than the Power Rangers and laser guns thing that they were going for here. And it's like, when I say that, it's like, yeah, Power Rangers and laser guns fun, but maybe in different hands. To double back to the trailer, I think something else I do want to mention. I think that one of like the big red flags for me in the trailer, that really I don't know, implied a different tone to this movie was the bit where they have like the adult man dressed like M3GAN, and he's holding like a sign, and he's like, I think that M3GAN is a smoking hot warrior princess. And I was like, uh-oh. that was not in the movie at all. That
No.
never happened. That and and it's like, okay, like cool, I guess. Like that's what I was like, that's the shit that I was worried about going into this movie, but like really bizarre to like put that. I know sometimes that like they do put stuff in the trailer that is in the movie, but that was a one. No, I don't know.
Yeah, bizarre. I think that's all I had to talk about with this one. Do you have any other points you wanted to hit?
Nah, I mean, I think that's about it. I don't know, like
I
we
will
didn't.
say this is another PG-13 horror movie. I think much like the original. Um,
Yeah,
you know, that was one of our complaints in the first M3GAN is we kind of hoped it would get a little gnarlier. Um,
and the first one did get an unrated release later. Did you ever
yeah,
watch
yeah,
that?
yeah, where they gave it an extra couple seconds, which is nice.
Yeah, I never saw the unrated version. But yeah, no, I agree. It's like, yeah, the bloodlessness of the film just kind of adds to the general flatness, the general lack of creativity.
Yeah, and
Like,
like
I'm not
I give it
opposed.
a little more of a pass in this one because it's more action sci-fi than horror. But at the same time, I feel like there could have been more creativity that came with like pushing that stuff more. So,
Yeah, and like I think that would have made it more entertaining too. Like I'm not opposed to
yeah.
PG-13 horror conceptually, but like like there's a part like Amelia kills Jermaine Clement by like ripping his like neuralink like out of his spine. And like if we had like actually seen that, like that would have been fucking like
Yeah.
that stuff would have been good. Oh, okay. The last little note, and then we can rate is what I thought this was incredibly stupid. How did you feel about the movie ending with them turning M3GAN into Clippy?
That was very strange.
Into like a
When she turns from the weird Clippy to like a weird like 2D animated version of herself, it looked so ugly. Like, oh
it
my
did.
god.
It looked like the animation of her like dancing around like Allison Williams' word processor. It looked like an old like 80s or 90s like cartoon animated. It looked like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego or something.
Yeah. Very
That was really
janky.
bizarre. And also, again, it's just like going back to like the film sort of being devoid of any real tension. M3GAN's sacrifice at the end isn't meaningful,
No.
right? If she just comes back as Clippy, like then who cares? Then what's the point of it all? Any of it matter? I
Yeah.
also did think that I keep thinking of things to bring up, but I did think it was very stupid and hacky that the evil AI god like is supposed to be omniscient, like able to see the past and the future, blah blah blah, all of this stuff, and she beats it by it not realizing that she has P in her arm and allows Allison Williams to detonate it. Like if it's really like an omniscient god, how is that like the one outcome that it didn't predict? I thought that was very stupid and wacky. Like it feels like by the time we're at that point in the movie, complaining about that is kind of like what are you looking for? But like I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's just like get it over with, right? We're like an hour
Right.
45 minutes into this fucking movie.
Yeah, we need to wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever. Like, yeah, let's just wrap it. Yeah, some fucking god machine, right? um, but yeah, I think that's everything I have. Are you ready to rate?
Yeah, I'm ready to rate. I can go first.
Go for it.
You know, again, I think this movie is less grating than I expected. Thankfully, it wasn't too abrasive with the quippiness. It's still there to an extent, with the M3GAN character being a little overly sassy in the film. But ultimately, I mean, the biggest fault I have with it is a sort of lack of creativity, right? Like it just feels so devoid of tension, kind of ultimately low stakes because of that. And yeah, it kind of limits the fun factor of it. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. I think it's fine, competent, but not particularly good.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Like, I think this is perfectly watchable, you know, moderately entertaining. Like, it's not a bad time, but again, like you said, it just has a staggering lack of creativity, and on top of that, a frankly pretty rancid like message at the end of the day, that coming from Blumhouse explicitly, like, really put a bad taste in my mouth. I've certainly seen worse films. I've seen worse films this year, but M3GAN 2.0 again is not going to be something I see myself really coming back to. And I think they can stop it here. We don't need a M3GAN 3. Um, but yeah, that will give M3GAN 2.0 an average of 2.8 out of 5. And no, I will never not call it M3GAN. That's how you stylized it, so that's how I'm gonna say it. If you're gonna put numbers into your words and expect me to not pronounce them, then that's your first mistake, Buster. David Fincher, you're on that list too, bud. I think Seven is a brilliant film, but you did replace the V with a 7. So that movie is called Seven.
That would make even less sense, but I love it for
I
it.
know. I know. I mean, that is it is. I rewatched it and I thought I've seen it many times. It really is just one of the best films of the 90s, I think. Just an
Yeah.
incredible modern neo noir. But anyway, next week, believe it or not, it's the midpoint of the fucking year, and we have some more predictions to do for the second half of 2025. So next week, we're not talking about a single movie. We'll be breaking down our predictions for the rest of the films of this year. And at the end of that, we will do a big roundup where we distribute the remainder of the points and see which of the three of us won the first half of the year's predictions and gets to pick the films for our mid-year catch-up. So
Yeah, I gotta say we have a pretty solid slate of movies for the second half of the year. I think we're at I threw out 12 options and we're at 11 approved. So we got a solid set
oh
of
no,
movies covered for
Jesus.
the second half.
Yeah, I will say there are definitely some movies in the rest of this year that I'm looking forward to quite a bit. So yeah, well, if you want to hear us talk about that, then don't miss next week's episode. Until then, if you like the show and you want to support us, the cheapest and easiest way to do so is to leave us a 5-star rating and a review. But you could also be super cool and join our Patreon, patreon.com/podpeoplepod. We got 3 different tiers that you can subscribe to with various rewards. You get access to our Discord to hang out and chat with us. Ben hosts movie nights every week, which are always a blast. Yeah, you can also recommend movies for us to talk about on the show. Speaking of which, shout out to our honorary pod boys, Sam, Zach, Micah, and Mitchell. We love and appreciate you guys as always. It's done. You can also follow us on Letterboxd at Pod People Podcast, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. And I guess for my recommendation this week, I'm gonna give a recommendation for The Girls and the Gay. I watched a much lesser known and Paul Verhoeven movie called Tricked. I was telling you about this yesterday, Ben. It's basically like Paul Verhoeven's take on a soap opera, kind of. But the gimmick is that for they broke the movie down into chunks and sourced script ideas from the public. And then at the beginning, the actual story is only 50 minutes, so they tack on a 40-minute spoiler-free making of at the beginning, which is a lot of Paul Verhoeven talking about his process. He's just an incredibly delightful and charming person. I always love listening to him talk. And the actual story is very dramatic, very goofy. So if you like that kind of high drama bullshit, then I think you might enjoy Tricked. That's it for me.
Well, for my recommendation, I went to Atlanta earlier this week for some work stuff and got to hang out with our honorary pod boys, Mitchell and Micah. Shout out to them. That was super fun. But the three of us went to Videodrome, which is this really, really cool video rental store in Atlanta. And I basically had a 2-hour-long Criterion Closet episode pulling out movies and talking about them, to both Mitchell and Micah. They have just an incredible library. So many cult movies, so many obscure movies that I've never seen physically before. It's an incredible place. If you're in the Atlanta area, please go check them out. They're absolutely incredible. Videodrome is the best place in Atlanta. I'm just gonna say it.
Wow. And if you're not in Atlanta, just watch David Cronenberg's Videodrome instead. And
yes.
That'll have to suffice. All right. Well, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about M3GAN and how AI. Time maybe try writing some of your own emails respectfully.
Pray God you can go